Hello, how are you? Today, we're going to talk about three confidence boosters that every leader needs to know. Confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about being clear. And you know how much I love the word clear because clear means that you know what you want or what you want to attract or who you are or the things that are not wishy washy. And if any of you know me, you know that I am anything but wishy washy. So whether it's good or bad, I'm just clear about what it is that I'm out for and what it is that I want to help people get to. So you can't get to the place without clarity, right? And so it's not about being perfect, but it is about knowing when you are what you stand for and where you're headed. Confidence follows naturally because you're clear and you're in alignment. In this episode, we're going to dive into three pillars of confidence and how clarity in these areas can transform not just your self belief, but the way you lead, the way you communicate, and the way you live. So, personal and professional. I'm going to give you a couple stories real quick on how the lack of clarity costs me. Firstly, in business, when I started On Demand CMO, I had just recently been a publisher of a trade magazine called Brand Week. Well, people knew me, and I had a good reputation, which is always helpful. But I thought that I could be a marketing consultant for everyone. I really did believe that because marketing is marketing. Other than I didn't want to market, consumer packaged goods. That wasn't my thing. I wasn't going to do toothpaste or lipstick or the CPGs. I knew that I didn't want to do that, but everything else was sort of up for grabs, right? I could be marketing software, I could be marketing insurance, I could be marketing a pharmaceutical product to doctors. Like I thought it wasn't, I was agnostic because as a publisher, I was agnostic on the types of industries that we were covering. So I went out to market and I did, started the company with two retained clients, which was awesome. They were very different from one another, but I was helping them build their businesses. So in effect, I was their on-demand CMO and white labeling my services to them. Here's what happened. I didn't have the clarity I needed to be able to say, I am great in these four swim lanes. I'm great at technology. I'm great at technology services. I'm great at education and not for profit. Those are my swim lanes today. However, took me years to be clear about what it is that I was supposed to be attracting and the types of clients I was supposed to be attracting. Because again, if you think you're all things to all people, or you're trying to do that, you will fundamentally stand for nothing. If you're not clear about who you are and what you want to attract and who you want to attract, the universe will give you exactly what you asked for. Nothing, or a whole lot of nothing, or a whole lot of everything that doesn't feel connected, doesn't feel aligned, doesn't feel on purpose, doesn't feel great. So you have to, the first pillar of this exercise that I'm running you through is that you have to be clear. And so here's another thing I became clear about years later, and this has something to do with why I started the coaching and speaking and podcast and book business, because I was out to empower women. I knew exactly that was why I was put on this planet. I had this feeling. I just knew that every time I talked to women, there was just a small few things that maybe they were just not aware of or that they didn't see for themselves. And once I pointed it out to them, a light bulb moment happened. And that was so gratifying for me that I wanted to help people the types of help that I didn't get coming up through the ranks, the types of help I didn't get when I founded my business, the types of help I didn't get throughout my career or at mommyhood or whatever. It did never happen because it just wasn't the way things were. So I'm about changing that. I'm very clear that I'm not for everyone. I'm very clear about that. That takes balls, I'm telling you, to be able to say, you know what? If you're not up to something and you don't want to have impact in the world, I'm not your girl. I'm not your coach. I'm not your leader. I'm okay with that. And here's what I'm also okay with. I'm okay with a client saying to me, you're not for me. I know I'm not for everybody, but I'm okay with that now because I'm clear that I want to work with clients that are up to something that can hear what they need, not what they want to hear. If you want a yes person and you want me to kiss your ass 24/7 and say, oh, yes, 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 Miss Jones, that's the best idea I've ever heard in my entire life. Yes, Miss Jones. Yes, Miss Jones, that's great. That's great. then I'm not your girl. Because ultimately, Miss Jones is going to come up with a harebrained idea that's going to cost her business thousands and thousands of dollars, if not multiple months or years of go to market errors. My job as the outsourced business consultant and marketing consultant is to say, you know what, Miss Jones, have you thought about doing it this way? Because ultimately, I don't know. I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen it happen multiple times in other experiences, and it's worked. If Miss Jones isn't okay with hearing that from me, she's not my client, and I'm okay with that. So you need clarity. You need self-awareness, that you need you to know your strengths and your values. That gives you a foundation for the confidence. When you show up confident. So that's the way it is in terms of alignment, and what you say is what you do and what you do is what you say. The idea of knowing your own unique value and knowing your authentic voice and having your authentic voice. We talk about this, or I talk about this in chapter 1 of the book, which is when your words and your actions are aligned, beautiful things happen. So be clear. There's a clarity connection, trust me. The other pillar that a confidence booster that leaders should know is the clarity connection itself. So when you communicate clearly to someone, whether it's personal or professional, that builds trust and credibility. If you're wishy-washy, or you say yes to everything, or you're in a meeting and you're not really saying anything, the people around you will start to question whether or not you have your shit together. So I'm advising you to, to be credible, to be confident. And how you do that, I'll give you another example. I had an opportunity with a bank, and initially we brought in for an RFP, and it was about a rebrand. And so, we do these were the days when I was actually doing RFPs. I don't do them anymore, but back in those days. So we get the RFP together, the whole team goes out and presents a big piece of business, and we go and we present to the CEO. And he tells us where he's at, he tells us what he wants to do. I ask, what are his business objectives? Where are they in their maturity? What are they doing with the bank? Are they looking for acquisitions? Are they looking for mergers? What are they doing? So once he discloses his business strategy, I realize he doesn't need a rebrand. Now, here I am sitting with a lot of money on the table in front of a client that is asking me to do something that I know he doesn't need. So what do? I say, with all due respect, sir, I'm going to tell you something I know that you're not prepared to hear, especially not from an agency that would benefit strongly from this presentation and this piece of business. You don't need a rebrand. You're not ready for it. Wow. Holy shit. My team looked at me like, what are you doing? But my business partner and husband knew exactly what I was doing, because he knows me and he knows I was right. That client did not need a rebrand in that moment. They needed other things. And I proceeded to tell him what he did need and at what point he might be ready for a rebrand. That created such credibility, such clarity, and such trust with him. He immediately asked me to have breakfast with him. Within a couple of weeks, we were sitting down and having breakfast, and that created a conversation and a relationship that lasted for years throughout multiple acquisitions and mergers. And to this day, I think he's still one of my favorite clients. And I'd like to think that maybe I'm one of his favorite vendors. But the point is, there was clarity in my communications. There was a little bit of nerve-wracking decision point to go out on a limb and say what I said at the moment that I said it. But that boosts your credibility, that boosts your inner confidence, because it was received in the way I wanted it to be received. I value trust and your business so much that in this particular moment, I'm going to forego the money. The long-term gain is not at the expense of a short-term gain. So that's the kind of thing where clear communication is a perfect example of how that could boost your confidence. But you have to show up being willing to say the things that people may or may not typically say, and that's okay too. The third pillar is resilient decision making. Clear goals and priorities make decision making easier and more confident. How do you have to do that? Well, You have to, like I said, the whole, story that I gave you here was an example of how being clear and in my decision making in that moment really paid off. So I led with the right thing to do versus being fearful that in that moment I was gonna blow something up. So I hope that those stories and those examples were helpful. It's the same thing as why this podcast and my book and whatever. This is I develop content for women that are up to something that wanna make an impact in the world. If you're interested in comparing yourself to other people online and you're more worried about your image than your substance, I'm not your girl, and I'm okay with that. But if you're up to making an impact in the world and doing the best you can to leave a mark in the world, and the world doesn't have to be large. It could be hundreds of people, it could be dozens of people, it could be a handful of people. The point is, if you want to leave the world a better place than how you found it, then I'm your girl and we should get together. And that's how it is. So let me recap and summarize the three pillars: self awareness, clear communication, and resilient decision making. So I hope that that has been, helpful to you. Looking back at the moment, it wasn't perfection that got me through it, it was clarity. Confidence grows when clarity leads the way. When you build confidence on a foundation of clarity, it's unshakable. Start small. Get clear on who you are, speak your truth, and trust yourself to make the decisions that align with your vision and your values. Confidence will grow when clarity leads the way. All right. So I encourage you to reflect on the clarity time that you need to have to help you act confidently. I invite you to share your story on my social media outlets and tag me. And we'll put out a confidence checklist that you can download from my website. And I hope that you stay in the moment of confidence through clarity. Make it a great day. It's your day. Do with it what you want. Hopefully, something great. Bye.